Hello, Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors, and today's video is just a short and sweet introduction to ReMine Docs. This is a new program through FMLS where you are going to be able to access your contract forms and create your transactions. Similar to rDocs, which I imagine will be going away, and it is in ReMine Docs. So it is available to you now, and it is brand new as of the beginning of February 2020. So there's not a lot of training out there on how to use them. I want to thank Kevin Theobald of FMLS for helping me through this. FMLS does have some classes at their training sites. They're not for CE credit, but they are a great introduction. So let's dive in. Again, this is just a brief introduction so you can start working with ReMine Docs and start playing with it. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to log into FMLS, which I have done, and you get this home screen. Once you're on this home screen, you are going to go to Products, and just in general, when you hover over products, you get their most often used products. If you actually click on products, you get their full slate of products that you don't necessarily see when you just hover. But however you do it, you are going to look for ReMine, and you click there. Now, just while this is loading, ReMine is a system that is more than a document management system. It is a system where you can actually find public data on properties out there to help you with your prospecting. And here's a press release right now being released March 3rd of 2020 or March 4th. You'll have a new commercial real estate feature, new search options, so forth and so on. So ReMine is a very powerful program, and both Georgia MLS and FMLS have ReMine. The difference is FMLS has what's called ReMine Pro, and my understanding is they have the exclusive on ReMine Pro, and that is part that has the Docs document management system. And for those of you guys that use ReMine to search, the ReMine Pro version in FMLS has additional search features that you would have to pay for if you go through Georgia MLS. So anyway, here I just hovered, click on ReMine. Now it's forwarding me to that program. Once you are in the program, again, there's all kinds of things you can do for searching to help you with your prospecting, to find people that need your services. But what I'm going to do now is we are just going to briefly cover Docs. So I'm in ReMine. I'm looking right here for the Docs Plus menu, so I click on that, and now it takes me to the ReMine Docs. Now, there is a lot of information in here. It opens up, and the default screen is your dashboard where you can create a transaction, and that would be similar to a tile in rDocs. You can upload a file, and then it shows you what has been recently edited. But I just want to briefly cover what these settings are here on the left-hand menu. So again, dashboard is the default setting that you will see when you first go into ReMine Docs. And I want to start here first with packages. So we click here on packages, and this is where you can create often used packages of forms. You can create an entire package and you give it a name. So for example, these are the ones that I have created. So normally your screen might be blank. But for example, if you use the same documents over and over again when you're going on a listing appointment, for example, if you use the exclusive listing agreement, the seller's property disclosure form, the community association disclosure, all the consumer brochures that go with that. If you use those on a regular basis, you can create a package and call it listing package. Or if you use the same forms when you are working with a buyer, exclusive buyer brokerage agreement, the buyer consumer brochures, for those of us in Maximum One, the service recommendations, so forth and so on. You can create the affiliated business disclosure. You can create a package of the forms you use on a regular basis, and then you can just access that package rather than looking for the individual forms each time you're working with a new client. So that's just a clever feature right there that will save you some time. Then down here on checklists, this is a nice a nice feature where you can create checklists for yourself. For example, you can have a listing checklist, you can have a buyer checklist, you can have a buyer under contract checklist, a seller under contract checklist. And basically what that does, and I would suggest you copy the checklist from the paperless pipeline so you'll be sure to have everything you need for compliance. But you can create your own checklist where it's something like, for example, listing appointment checklist. You might want to put on the checklist, make sure you bring a lockbox, make sure you have pictures, make sure you bring the listing agreement, make sure you bring a key, make sure you bring a camera, so forth and so on. And then under contract could be various things. Under contract for a buyer could be, inspection scheduled, so forth and so on. So anyway, that's just a nice feature that you can create for yourself. Okay, now let me show you one more feature here where it says clauses. This is a really nice feature that I think you guys are really going to appreciate about ReMine Docs. If we click here on clauses, you're going to see either 2 or 3 folders. If you are a realtor and you have access to the GAR contracts, or if you have paid GAR their fee to use their license for their contracts this year, you will see the file cabinet for the GAR. This first multiple listing service is the RE forms, and this is one specific to your broker. And what I'm talking about is these are all the special stipulations already written out for you. So when I select the GAR, let me go back here. Click. If you want to go back, you can go up here. I'm on clauses. I want to see if I'm looking for a specific special stipulation, a GAR special stip. I'm going to click here. And I have all the special stipulations pertinent to agency, agriculture and land, due diligence, earnest money, financing, miscellaneous property condition. So for example, if I click here under the due diligence inspection, and again, I'm here in clauses, which are special stipulations, then I have amendment to address concerns as a notice to terminate, flood zone warranty contingency, kick-out provision, due diligence, repair of defects not found due to seasonal issues, repairs by seller after loan approval. So for example, let's just look at one of these. Let's look at repairs by seller after loan approval, extend closing date. So if I click on that, I can actually see what it says. And what it says is all parties acknowledge that seller shall not be obligated to initiate any repairs to the property prior to the receipt by the seller of written loan approval from the buyer's lender. In the event said repairs cannot be completed before the closing date, buyer or seller may, at its option by notice to the other party, unilaterally extend the agreement closing date up to blank calendar days from the closing date to allow for completion of repairs. And then let's go back. So this is a place where you can access the various special stipulations, and you can actually see what they are. This one, for example, is walkthrough list, items completed after closing. Notwithstanding anything contained herein to the contrary, buyer and seller agree that all items on the walkthrough list shall be completed by seller in a good and workmanlike manner no later than blank days after closing. This stipulation shall survive closing. If you are a Maximum One agent, we have all kinds of additional special stipulations regarding repairs that you should include when you are negotiating for them on the amendment. But Let me go back here to clauses. And let me show you, for example, that if you click here on first multiple listing service, those are the special stipulations for the RE forms contracts. So for example, here are the assignment exhibits if you are writing a contract under the RE forms package and you want to assign it. So for example, let's click on this, assignment right of the buyer. It is understood and agreed that as long as the seller is not providing owner financing for the buyer, or buyer is not assuming an existing loan on the property for which the seller remains liable, this contract may be assigned by the buyer. In such event of an assignment, buyer and assignee shall remain jointly and severally obligated to perform the terms and conditions of the contract. So just in case you don't know, the GAR and the RE forms contracts are not assignable without written permission. So here's the special stipulation in the RE forms contracts where you can read some of their special stipulations, and these are available to all agents that have access to FMLS and Georgia MLS. So even if you're more comfortable using the GAR contract forms, your client is more comfortable, you may want to take a look at these special stipulations because there may be something that is more pertinent to your situation that you can't find in GAR. But now let me show you the really exciting thing. This file cabinet here where it says maximum 1 Greater Atlanta Realtors, this is for those of you that log in under broker code MXGR01. And if you log in under MXGA01, you will see a similar file cabinet. If you happen to be watching this video and you're from another brokerage, you need to get your broker to add documents to the broker's file cabinet. And these are special stipulations that your broker approves of that you can use. So the cool thing for you is if we click here on this, if you can't tell, this is a little file cabinet icon. If we click here on MXGR01, again, I'm in clauses, you will see, for example, I will add all of our special stipulations to both MXGR01 broker code and MXGA01 broker code. But for purposes of this demonstration, I've just added one. So I click here on down payment assistance funds, and this is available to you guys as agents. And it's so nice because you can just copy and paste it in your purchase and sale agreement, in an exhibit, in an amendment, wherever you need it. So, for example, it says this agreement is contingent upon the buyer's approval for the receipt of down payment from blank program, for example, Georgia Dream program or whatever, within so many days from the binding agreement date. Should the buyer not be approved for the DPA program within this time frame, buyer may terminate without penalty if buyer notifies seller in writing and providing DPA denial letter. So again, that is a maximum 1 special stipulation that has been written for us and approved by an attorney. And just as a reminder, if you're working with the buyer and they are getting down payment assistance funds, the financing contingency will not protect their earnest money if they don't get those funds unless you make the contract subject to that, which is the purpose of this special stipulation. So anyway, by the time you guys use it, or just in the near future, I will add all of the special stipulations that Maximum One has approved for your use. For example, as I just mentioned, we have a lot of special stipulations addressing repairs, buyers' rights should a seller not perform the repairs negotiated. We have a lot of special stipulations that will serve you well, and I will include those in this clauses section under the broker special stipulations. So now, all right, so what do you do when you want to start a transaction or you want to start a contract? Well, you either go up here to dashboard or you can click on transactions. I'm here in dashboard. You're in dashboard and we're going to click create a transaction. You're going to either give it a buy, if you're on the buying side or the listing side, you're going to click on one of those. And just like in rDocs, if you click on the listing side and enter the FMLS number, it will auto-populate all the information on the listing side from the MLS printout. You need the names of the buyers and of the sellers, and You can click on what brokerage you have. But let me go up here to buying side because I don't want to pull up a listing. And you can enter the name of the transaction. So I'm just going to call it sample transaction for video. And I don't have an MLS number, but I'm going to put in the names of all the buyers. Now, just a note, you need to have a separate email address for each buyer that is going to be on the contract. So here I'm going to put happy buyer 1. And I'm going to add them, and that does add them to your contacts. And now I can put in another one, happy buyer 2. So now I have 2 buyers. Sellers, if I know their names, I'm going to put them in. And again, if you have the FMLS number, that will auto-populate from that. The listing agent, again, you're going to get that from the listing agreement. Listing brokerage not selected. All right, and then I'm going to click next. Now, once I have given the name of a transaction, the first thing that populates, see I have these tabs up here. This is checklist. If you have a checklist that you have created, as we just addressed, it'll add that. Packages, if you have created a package, it will add that. Remember, we talked about if you create your regularly used buyer package or listing package. But here under forms is where you have access to, these are the GAR forms. Again, if you are a realtor, you have access to the GAR forms by virtue of your NRDS number. And if you are not a realtor, then you have access to the GAR forms by virtue of paying GAR for the right to use those forms for the year. And you do that, you'll get an FPID number, and you do that directly from through GAR. This file cabinet here are the first multiple listing service forms. And so these, let me just click on this file cabinet. These are the RE forms. And if you click on that, you have access to all of the RE forms. If I go back up here, let me click here on forms. All right. There we go. If you click on that, it closes that folder up. I'm going to click here on the GAR forms. And here is where I have access to all of the GAR forms. Now, let's say I'm not sure what I'm looking for. So I know I'm looking for the purchase and sale agreement, but I don't know the number. I can either scroll down, they're all alphabetical by form number, but I have no idea. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to put on purchase. And sometimes less is more. And then and then I hit enter. Well, you don't even have to hit enter, and it automatically takes you to any form that has the word purchase in it. So here's what I'm looking for. I am looking for the purchase and sale agreement. So I am going to, if you click on that form, let's see, where did it go? Purchase, it is F201. If I'm going to put a check mark in that form, and then you see right here where it says my selections. I don't have anything select, well, it just selected it because I put the check in it. So I want the purchase and sale agreement. I also want, I'm going to want a loan form. I'm going to get a conventional loan. My buyer's getting a conventional loan. So I'm going to put in conventional, and there it is, the conventional loan contingency exhibit. So I'm going to put a check mark in there, and I have both of those there. Or you can just click the down arrow. Now, maximum one, we require the affiliated business disclosure form, the wire fraud disclosure form, and we have other, other forms. For example, if you're working with a buyer, I really want them to have the service recommendation forms also. Now, that's not included in the GAR package or the RE forms package. If you click here on packages, you will see any packages that you have created. Now here, this is just what I've done. I've got sample GAR forms because I use them for teaching, and I've got sample RE forms because I use those for teaching as well as answering the broker support questions. But you will all see, if you are MXGR and you log in under broker code MXGR01, you will see a package here that says Maximum 1 Greater Atlanta Realtors. If you are MXGA and you log in under MXGA01, you'll see a package here that says Maximum 1 Realty Greater Atlanta. If you are watching this video and you are not a Maximum 1 agent, this is a place where your broker can upload often used forms that you need to use for your brokerage. So for example, if I click on this Maximum 1 Greater Atlanta Realtors, so far I have only uploaded 2 forms, the affiliated business disclosure, wire fraud disclosure, and the service recommendations. I will upload other often used forms such as the DA request and so forth and so on. The cool thing about this is because they're in here, once you pull them into your transaction tile, you are able to fill them out. Well, I take that back. You can set them up through eSign to fill out electronically. So anyway, for example, let's click on here, affiliated business and wire fraud disclosure. And that's just the title, then I have it, and it has added it here. Now let's go to, let me click on this one too. We'll add service recommendations also. All right, now I have 4 forms to complete. I'm gonna go to next. Now, just like in paperless pipeline, this right here, this is an email address for this transaction in ReMine Docs. Now, ReMine Docs does not talk directly to paperless pipeline, but if you are on your computer and you have a PDF form in your computer that you want to be included in this transaction, and again, the name of my transaction is Sample Transaction for Video. Yours would be something such as 123 Lucky Street or Sparks as buyers, or whatever you name your transaction. Anyway, once we are in here, I have access to the purchase and sale agreement, all of these to fill out. Now, I will give you a hint. You know that in rDocs, one of the forms that auto-populates for you is called a data sheet. ReMine Docs does not have that data sheet. However, the first form you fill out acts as a data sheet. And what I mean by that is the first form you're going to fill out when you're in a new transaction is going to be a document, either the purchase and sale agreement, a listing agreement, or a buyer brokerage agreement that has fill in the blanks for the names and the addresses and so forth and so on. That's just going to make your life easier, because once you have that in the first form you fill out, that information will auto-populate in those fields for other forms. So let me open up this purchase and sale agreement. And here I go. I've got the fill in the blanks for the purchase and sale. So here, the offer date, we're just going to make it March 6th. Address. Now again, had I filled in the MLS number, it would auto-populate everything. I'm going to manually enter the address, and it gives you the legal description if you fill in the legal description from this information. So we're going to make it 123 Lucky Street. I don't have any of this information right now. It is going to be in, let's just make it, we'll make it Marietta. The county, we'll make it Cobb, Georgia. Zip code 30067. Now, it's looking for, we'll make it this address. Nope. All right, and then if you have the deed book, that would be wonderful, so forth and so on. Now I'm going to hit done. Then I can fill in the, just fill in the check marks and put in the information. So here's going to be the deed book. I'm going to, if this had been a real address, it looks like it's going to access the public records. Obviously, it will access the public records because that's the main purpose of the rEMine program. And it's going to access the deed book and page for you, which will be awesome. I'm going to manually enter it. Okay, I'm not going to, it's having a hard time with my example because I have a fake street. All right, then we're going to put in the purchase price. The purchase price is going to be $575,000. No, 57 million. I like that. 575,000. 575,000. Closing costs. We're going to ask for. We've got a lot of cash. Let's just ask for 3,000 in closing costs. Closing date. We're going to close the end of April. So I can go to the next month. And again, as you know from our sales meetings, our closing attorneys really tell us that, and our lenders, that you will have a much better chance of closing on time if you close a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. But you really want to try and avoid your closings on Mondays and on Fridays and the end of the month. So the other thing, just so you guys know too, if you've taken my contracts classes, that if you are on the GAR, binding under the GAR, and one of the parties exercises their 8-day unilateral right to extend the contract, you do not want to close on a Friday because 8 days from a Friday puts you to Saturday, which means it would close Monday. So if you're binding on a GAR contract, you really want to avoid putting your closing date on a Friday. So anyway, we're going to close here. We're going to close April 23rd. It's not the last week of the month, and it's not a Friday. And we're going to have possession at closing. Holder of the earnest money is going to be maximum 1. So forth and so on. Anyway, you just go through and you fill in all the blanks. You can go to a specific page over here on this side. And that would be it for the purchase and sale agreement. Now, here we have access on the left-hand side to the conventional loan contingency. The good thing, too, is rEMine Docs automatically saves your entry. So I don't have to there's no save button, so I don't have to save anything. Now, you'll see since the first form I filled out was the purchase and sale agreement. Let me see if I can make this bigger for you. That now that I'm on the conventional loan contingency exhibit, it automatically has filled in the same fill in the blank. So I've got the property address all filled. Oh, you know what? Let me go back here. Let me show you the names. So I'm going back to the purchase and sale agreement. And let's go down here to the signature page. It already has my information filled in because I am logged into FMLS under my FMLS ID. So it auto-populates my information just like it does in rEMine Docs. And it already has filled in the buyer's information. All right, so now let's go back here to conventional loan contingency exhibit. And you have access to fill all this information in. Again, it has my information filled in. See how this, if you hover over here, it says signature preview. When you send it through the system for signatures, this will automatically have the signature field in there, which is nice. So that it's called what's called a smart form. So the form reads where it's requiring a signature versus something to type. Now, let's look here at the maximum 1 affiliated business disclosure form. So here you have this form. Okay, it says PDF form. What that means is the fill in the blanks are not automatic. So it doesn't fill it in like it does on the purchase and sale agreements. So what you have up here is you have blocks that you can use, e-sign blocks that you can use to fill in the information. So for example, I need to write text in here. Well, here, I'm going to put a date. So I have a date box, and I put the date box here. And now I can put in the date. So And then down here, I'm looking for a signature. So I'm putting in the signature box here. Click on the signature box, and it has, okay, who's signing it? Is it happy buyer, the first one, or the second one? It's going to be easier for you when you have actually different names. So here we're going to have this buyer here. Nope, date box. Okay, hang on. So let me get rid of this. Undo. All right, I want a signature box. I want the signature box for that person. There we go. And then you put it there, it puts it there. Now I want the signature box for buyer B. That's going to go there. Now I want the signature box for B. That goes there. All right. And then you click finish. Oops, I did a second one. Undo that. All right. And again, it saves. Now I want to put in the name, so then I need a text box. So I'm going to put in a text box here so that then I can type in the name. And again, this is more along the lines of e-sign, how you fill in your e-sign information. And then same thing down here, I want the signature boxes. Then I can either click next document there or go over to the left-hand side to pick the specific document. And again, this is a service recommendations form that you want to make sure that your buyer signs. And this is where you say, this is probably you're going to use after you're under contract. I choose to get a Georgia wood infestation clearance letter. I choose to have the property inspected by an independent home inspector of my choice. I choose to get a property survey, so forth and so on. So fill in the blanks. The client checks in yes or no. There is hold harmless language. All parties agree to indemnify and hold agent and brokerage harmless from and against all claims, injuries, suits, damages arising out of parties' decision with respect to their choices, and there is a signature page. Before you're using this form, you guys, this form is in the reference section of Paperless Pipeline. So anyway, now let's go back here. Let's go get back to our dashboard. And now we will see that those have been the recently edited forms. And if we click here on transactions, we're going to see this is the transaction we just created, sample transaction for video. And you can click on that. Again, you've got the email address and you can see the forms that you have in here. So again, this is not a full tutorial on ReMine Docs. I just wanted to show you a couple of things. Number one, how to get started in using it so you guys can play around with it. The important things, again, the packages that you can create for yourself. And again, in these packages under the broker maximum one, you will have the forms that we suggest you use on a regular basis, depending on your situation. The clauses, this is my favorite feature, I think, where you actually have access to the actual special stipulations all written out. And let me just go back here and show you how you use those. So let's go back to our transactions. Let's pull up the sample transaction, purchase and sale agreement. Let me scroll down here to the special stipulations. Now, here I clicked on special stipulations. How do I add, and it has a help. When you see the little question mark, that takes you to a help page. But I want to add a clause. So if I click here and click on add clauses, it automatically takes me to those clauses. Do I want a special stipulation from GAR? Do I want a special stipulation from the RE forms? Or do I want one of the maximum one special stipulations? So let's say I want a GAR special stip having to do with the, let's see if we can find home warranty. I don't know where the home warranty one is in here. So let me just put in home warranty. Here it is. So I can either preview it or I can click on this. Click done. And ta-da, it adds that special stipulation in. And then again, you can fill in the blanks here with the information. What by ABC Warranty Company. That would be the home warranty company of your client's choice at a cost not to exceed. And I could put in, for example, $595, so forth and so on. So that's how you work with that. Then I click outside of that, and let's add another clause. This buyer is getting a down payment assistance. So, for example, let me click on the maximum one, special stipulations. And again, I will put all of our special steps in here. I just haven't done it yet. I'm going to click on down payment assistance funds. Oops. Let me do this again. Add clauses, maximum one. This is the one I want. So I highlight it and I click done. Now you'll see it automatically adds in that form. And in here you can add in, for example, Georgia Dream. Within, let's put, I don't know, 28 days, so forth and so on. So there you go. You've got your, and it automatically saves those in there. So let me go back here. And there you go. You can see what they look like. Isn't that awesome? So again, let me go back to the dashboard. And again, this is by no means a thorough tutorial on ReMine Docs. It is just a basic introduction so that you can start playing with it. And again, you can play with it with the program to start getting comfortable with where the documents are, where the special stipulations are. And I suggest you go in here, create a transaction, same thing, that is a sample transaction, and play around with adding forms, adding special stipulations, emailing it to yourself. And again, for example, here under packages, I have a package of sample GAR forms, and I have a package of sample RE forms. That's something that I use, again, to help you guys when you have a broker question that comes across support and you're looking for a sample form. I can access these forms. So please go take the training class through FMLS. It's not for CE credit yet. They are working on developing a full 3-hour CE credit program for that. ReMine Docs, this is a brand new program even for ReMine. So they are also taking suggestions. So if you do have a chance to work with this program and you have some suggestions for them, please contact Kevin Theobald with FMLS, and I'll link his email address below, and he can make suggestions directly to ReMine Docs. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope this helped you out a little bit so you feel more comfortable checking out the ReMine Docs program.